Basketball fans, like this video if you want your team to win the NBA Finals next season. Don't jinx it. If you want your team winning it all next year, hit that like button. Coming up on NBA Now, my name is Harrison Graham. We're going to explore the following topics. James Harden, what is the latest on the Sixers guard who has had a trade request out there? We're going to discuss that, and that's where we'll start here as James Harden has been obviously in the headlines for several weeks now. Multiple rumors and reports have emerged following Harden's trade request from a few weeks ago. So here's the latest we're hearing from national outlets here. Zach Lowe of ESPN says that Harden wants to go to the Clippers, says that's a priority of his. Shams Charania says that the James Harden-Daryl Morey relationship is, quote, essentially severed. But then Jake Fisher of Yahoo says that he will not hold out if it gets to that point. In other words, if training camp gets here the preseason and he has not been traded, he will report. He will not hold out from the Sixers this season. And look, let's just be honest. James Harden is kind of just a headache at this point. Thought he had a good year this past year. I want to give him respect for that. But it just seems like it's one thing after the other. He's requested more trades than any other player in the history of the NBA. Now, again, I thought he had a really good year last year as he has continued to evolve in kind of a pure point guard with almost 11 assists per game, the three-point shot kind of return. Now, he's lost that first step, that athleticism. He really struggles to get to the rim consistently, and even when he does get into the paint, his finishing percentages have dipped significantly. But I think on the right team, even in Philly still, he could still have a big impact, but just having to deal with him is a bit of a headache. Now, this will be the pinned comment on today's show. So during this YouTube ad break, I want you to answer this question. Will the 76ers trade James Harden before training camp? Simple yes or no question. Type Y for yes or in for no. Ad break coming up. Get your answers in. Okay, now the Clippers have been the team that he wants to go to, that reportedly is interested. It sounds like it's Clippers or bust. Could this be the new big three with Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and James Harden? I think it could. I think it does make sense. I think they're the one contender that actually does make sense for James Harden, and the reason for that is something I've mentioned on this show numerous times. He needs to be a third option on a championship-level team. Kawhi's the number one. Paul George is the number two. James Harden can be the number three. I think they need a pure point guard as well. He can fill that void. I think the fit makes sense. I think the role makes sense. I think the Clippers are the one team, and he's on a one-year deal because he opted into his player option. If it doesn't work, they could blow it up next year. Trade Kawhi, trade Paul George, whatever they want to do. So I think if he ends up with the Clippers, that could be really good for both parties. Now, trade idea we've got here. Norm Powell, Robert Covington, and Marcus Morris into 2027 first to the 76ers for James Harden. I think it's a decent deal. Like James Harden, you're not getting 3-4 first-round picks. It's not going to be a Kevin Durant type of trade. But Clippers would move a 20-point scorer in Norm Powell, Robert Covington, who's a good two-way player, Marcus Morris to help match salary as well, and a first. I think that's pretty good return for Philadelphia. Now, could the Clippers also get P.J. Tucker in that deal? Maybe. But I think this is kind of a starting point of a trade. Subscribe to the channel. James Harden gets traded. We'll cover it here on NBA Now by Chat Sports. So hit that subscribe button. It's youtube.com/chatsportstv, and do not miss out on any of our coverage. Next up on today's NBA Rumors Rundown show, Christian Wood, what is the latest on the Mavericks free agent? We know that Dallas doesn't have any interest in bringing him back, but where could he land? Dan Wokey says that the Lakers could be a potential fit, but also recently reported that other interested teams have emerged. I know the Chicago Bulls are one of those teams. The Lakers still remain in the mix, and then the Miami Heat. And what do all these teams have in common, or especially those last two, the Heat and Lakers? Well, and you could even factor in the Bulls in terms of like what their roster breakdown is in terms of contract salary. Big contracts need to fill voids with cheap players that are also good, and Christian Wood could fill that void. Now, I think he was a questionable locker room fit in Dallas. There's a reason he's bounced around. But when you look at the numbers, I mean, he's a productive player. This past year had almost 17 points and 7 rebounds and shot the ball well from the field and from three. Played well with the Rockets. The problem is can Christian Wood be a really good player on a contending team? I'd like to find out. I thought Dallas would be that team for him. When they traded for him, I was pretty excited. I was like, oh, whether he starts or come off the bench, he's going to be a 17 to 20-point scorer, and this team is coming off a conference finals appearance. That obviously did not shake out. Dallas had a disappointing season, so that is kind of the question. It's like, what is the deal with Christian Wood? 7 teams in 7 seasons, doesn't play defense, seems to be a problem in the locker room, not the most coachable player. So where do you sit with this guy? It's why Mark Stein reported that he's only getting veteran minimum contract interest at this point in free agency. So I'll be curious to see where he goes. There's not a lot of money left in free agency from teams, so he might have to take a vet min deal. And, the Bulls, Miami Heat, the Lakers seem to be the most interested right now. So what do you guys think? What is the best fit for Christian Wood? If you think it's the Bulls, type CHI. Think it's the Miami Heat, type MIA. If you think it's the Lakers, type LAL. I think it's Miami, especially if they trade for Damian Lillard. It gives you another piece that can come off the bench, help replace some of that bench scoring that Tyler Hero would leave with, because he'll almost certainly get dealt in a Dame trade. But what say you? Bulls, Heat, Lakers, get your votes in. OG Anunoby, is he not going to get traded? That's where we head toward next, as the Toronto Raptors have to make some decisions. Pascal Siakam trade buzz has been circulating. Here's Eric Koreen of The Athletic saying the Raptors are not seriously listening to offers for Anunoby right now. You've heard all the reasons before. He's young enough to fit a timeline fixed on younger players, good enough to contribute to a Siakam-led team, and flexible enough to play alongside several potential Raptors tentpoles. There are 2 scenarios in which I see that changing. One is if he tells the Raptors he is unhappy in Toronto, will not consider re-signing with the Raptors, which is unlikely to happen because money. The second is if Siakam signs an extension with the Raptors. Now, I don't really know what the Raptors' game plan is, right? Like, are they going to keep Siakam? Are they going to trade him? He wants to stay there. He is not willing to commit to an extension with another team, by all accounts and reports. So do they just extend him and keep him around? Does that push Anunoby out the door? I don't know. Does Anunoby want a bigger role in Toronto if he were to stay? I mean, he's a really good player. Now, is he an all-star? Is he a superstar level player? I wouldn't say that. I think he has to prove that he can take that next leap. He's kind of been what he's been the last 3 years, right? 16 to 17 points, and he's going to shoot high 30s from three, play good defense. Very valuable player to have, but in terms of what his ceiling is, I'm not so sure. We'll see if he gets dealt or not. Okay, one more here. Let's discuss the Draymond Green, Jordan Poole feud, the feud that just will not go away, going back to the punch way back before last season. Here's Draymond Green on Pat Beverly's podcast. He says, I don't just hit people. Dialogue, of course, happens over time, and you usually ain't triggered by something like that fast to that degree. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is a team. Ain't nobody on my team triggering me in an instant. We know stuff that you don't say amongst men. We know things that you have to stand on. So basically what Draymond Green is implying here, and let me actually get that to a sec. Let's go to Anthony Poole here first here, saying, I stand on that. This is some BS. Jordan was his guy, and he avoided me all last year. He is a soft-ass bitch, and I'm standing on this. He didn't apologize to me and my wife, so he lame, and me and him can meet anytime he wants. Draymond says, that's so cute. It's impossible to avoid you and Arena for a year, champ. I get my family from that family room every game, and stop using those words. They usually don't go over well amongst men. And then Jordan Poole goes on Instagram, talk of the topic, find you a hubby, yada, yada, yada. Let's just kind of recap this and give my thoughts. Draymond is essentially accusing Jordan Poole of saying something he shouldn't. Like, we all know what those things are. Like, saying something he shouldn't. Did he say something about his wife? I don't know. I don't know what was said, but here's my thing. Draymond Green is a 10-plus year vet. He's supposed to be a leader of that team. You can't punch a teammate in the jaw at practice. Like, yeah, sit down and be like, yo, man, like, you can't be saying shit like that. That's cool, but You can't do that. I think it derailed their season. I think it's why Jordan Poole ended up getting traded, because they had to pick one or the other, and they obviously opted to go with the vet and Draymond Green. The back and forth is just tiresome at this point. I don't think it's really that valuable to even discuss at this point in time. Now, whose side are you on? Is it Draymond Green's or is it Jordan Poole's? I wouldn't say I'm on a side, but I'll put more blame on Green. At the end of the day, he threw the punch. He's got to own that. Words are words, and they hurt and this and that. But like you can't handle it that way, especially as a leader, someone in their mid-30s. So I guess I would type JP for being on Jordan Poole's side, but let me know what you guys think, DG or JP. That's going to do it for today's episode of NBA Now by Chat Sports. My name is Harrison Graham. Until next time, hit that subscribe button.